And part of good planning is knowing the scope of what you're taking
It
on.
is. It
right?
is.
Like I talked about not knowing the scope of vault hunters getting into that. Like that's part of planning. If you fully understood the scope, then you can put it in where it belongs and know what you're in store for, so you can plan properly, and that would solve it.
Welcome back to the show. There's no telling where we'll go. So come and share a laugh on the Imp and Skizz podcast.
I was gonna get a haircut. I like to get haircuts before we have recording day.
Ooh, I did it. I took myself to the barber shop and got it done. Oh man, I felt like a new man. I felt like a new person. Even the person that cut my hair said that I looked like completely different. But why didn't you get a haircut?
God, that hurt even more.
I know. I just stuck the knife in and twisted on that opening of yours. I'm sure you were going somewhere, and I immediately just started bragging about how I did something that you couldn't get done.
We usually record 2 episodes at once, which is what we just did. One before this.
You don't remember what it was?
No, I can't even tell you how mushy my brain's been. But my point being this. My point being, insert clever podcast comment here. I'd like to get a nice haircut before we stream or before we record, and there was just that wasn't on the table. The bandwidth wasn't there, and I
could tell in what limited conversations I had with you this last week, I could tell that you had a lot going on, and maybe even a little frustrated by the fact that stuff was falling off of your plate. We talk about like loading our plate up with our things that we do from a day to day. And I felt like you were like, oh, there goes that. Oh, there goes that. So haircut was one of them that fell off the plate this week, huh?
Like so much so that I didn't even realize I wasn't able to get it to happen until I looked in the monitor. Like that's not good. So, so that's sort of what I mean. And I want to be very, very clear about this podcast, and I think you feel the same. I have no interest in complaining about that. We're talking about just we've overcommitted to. You've done it too, and I overcommit.
I feel like I'm the master at overcommitting.
You're the master at overcommitting, and a lot of the things that we're committed to, it's not really things that we can remove sometimes, but it's very. I want to be as crystal clear as possible. I'm not complaining about being overcommitted or having a lot going on. This is a blessing. This is an absolute blessing. All the things, I got a great job. I have all the content creation opportunity that's been presented to me. I have the most amazing family in the world. Like I feel as blessed as you can possibly be, but it doesn't negate from the fact that there's only a certain amount of time. And I am having to embrace failure left and right lately, dude. Yeah. I just can't get it all done.
I feel you there.
Yeah.
It's okay. Your hair looks fine.
All right.
Your hair looks fine.
It doesn't.
But mine looks smoking
Yours
hot.
looks great. Can't you tussle it up a little bit for me? It looks really, really good. Like here, turn your head again. I want to see that. Like that. Turn the other direction. That more. There. More. That looks good. You look like such a punk. You do. You look
I got the punk haircut.
You look like a skater. Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah, I just I feel like if I keep the sides super short, I look thinner.
Yeah.
And the gray hair. I'm trying to hide the gray hair by
you try to
keep it short.
That's maybe I'll try that. Maybe
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
I'm gonna just shave it bald
anyway
and hide my gray hair.
Okay, this podcast has turned into a talk about haircuts.
No, hold on. Let's have some fun about this first of all. We weren't even entirely sure what we were going to talk about today.
I wasn't even sure you were going to be here today.
Yeah, we had to mess everything up. Like that's another thing is that and I felt so bad because I'm trying to do so many things, and there's so many people who I love, who I want to give them my all, and they get next to nothing from me. And for example, my daughter is going to go back to the East Coast on Monday. Today is Saturday. She's going to go back on the East Coast on Monday. So a couple days ago, my dad called me and asked if we could get, breakfast this weekend. I'm like, maybe we can do it Saturday. I mean, that feels awful. That feels awful to say to your dad. Maybe I can fit you in. That's not what I was trying to do, but it was one of those like, if I'm going to do it, something's got to give. Like that, and that's which is okay. I'm willing for something to give, but something has got to give. And I also wanted to bring my daughter with me, so that he could see her before because two days before that, or the day before, so I'm already losing track of it. My mom also wanted to meet up with my daughter before she went, so we made that happen. Now, I loved it. I love my mom dearly, and going and meeting her. But in order to make that happen, Impulse, I had to set up a time that was in between where we're all at. My daughter and my wife went off to a hair appointment that was kind of far away, and we found a zone. I'm like, everybody meet at this zone, like a covert ops team at 0700. But it was, well, actually, let's see, it was 7 o'clock, which would be, that's 1900 hours. Meet at this zone at 1900 hours. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to go get a burger at this place or whatever. Everybody and break. And then that was the only way we could make it happen. And it was awesome. And so we really enjoyed the fact that we were meeting together and enjoying each other's company. And once I was there and I was enjoying it. Right. And then my dad hits me up. Can we meet up for something? And I'm going to do it Saturday. You know what, Dad? Maybe Saturday morning. And my brain's like, there's probably something you have going on. This podcast is a huge priority in my life. How did I space that? And I'm like, I'm trying to think. And I'm like, and then it hits me later. I'm like, oh my Skizz, the podcast, man. I'm like, okay, let me think. And not only that, but I wanted my daughter to come with me. Well, she works today. The only way this is going to work is if we go extra early and I have somebody else pick up my dad, because I can't have his wheelchair in the car and my daughter in the car. It doesn't work. I have to fold down the seats. So I need somebody else to pick him up, and we're going to do our whole meet thing so we can have this, because I really want this to work. And I got to jet early to be back in time so my daughter can go to work. It's the only way it's going to happen. And I find out later, because I can't do it Sunday because my daughter's running a half marathon tomorrow. And I find out later, my daughter also has to catch for a pitcher this morning before work, and she has to pick up her bib for the race. It was never going to happen unless I had breakfast with my dad at 2 a.m. There was no way it was going to happen, right? Okay, well, I also can't do it Sunday because my daughter has the race. Can't do it Monday. That's the day we're getting our daughter back to New York. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's one of those things where it just keeps happening, and I got to figure it out.
It can be frustrating.
Yeah.
It can be frustrating, when you're just like stuck between a rock and a hard place. There's just like literally nothing you can do to make everything you'd like to have happen.
Yep.
And then sacrifices have to be made, and it's a bummer. Your dad missed out on seeing your daughter.
And he
before
was cool about it. He was cool about it.
Yeah, I mean, he's lived long enough to get that same lesson in life, right? That sometimes just stuff comes up, and life is what it is. But it's one thing to kind of like have life come at you the way it did, and just you can't work things out even with. I mean, you are a master at problem solving. It's like a big part of what you do in your job, and you're good at it not only in your job but in life situations like this. And if you couldn't come up with a way to make it happen, it just means that literally there's no way to make it happen unless you're going to be crazy like 2 a.m. Breakfast. But so at that stage, then what do? You just got to accept it, right? Like you can get upset about it, and that's natural. That's fine, But at some point in time, you got to realize, you know what, that was out of my control, So can't dwell on it. You know what I mean? Can't stay mad about it, angry about it, frustrated, whatever. It is what it is. The things that get me mad to where I think I'm okay to be. It makes sense to be mad is when I've kind of like self-inflicted wounds. You know what I mean? Like I made the decision to accept too many things, do too many things, you know what I mean? Like take on too much. And that for me is something that I'm just like, if we want to go back to talking about character flaws, my ability to be like too optimistic on what I can get done in a day is something I feel like I'm never gonna learn. You know what I mean? Like this is something we probably talked about in a podcast a year ago, and here we are today, and I'm doing the same thing, making the same mistakes.
Yeah.
I started. I probably shouldn't remind everybody about this. I started a hardcore world in Minecraft 3 different times. 3 different times. I started a hardcore. Hardcore, you're supposed to play until you die.
Yeah.
I didn't die in any one of these. I just quit.
Because you're try-harding.
Yeah.
That's why.
I had the desire to do something, and I was like, okay, I want to do it, so I'm going to do it. And then I start to do it, and I realize you can't do that and the other things that you're already doing. It just doesn't make sense.
Nope.
Because our plates are only so big. I don't know if this analogy is getting a little cliche or what, but we can only do so much. We only have 24 hours in a day. That's just the bottom line. And we probably should sleep and take care of our health, you know? And so we only have that much time. And if we decide to try to do more than our time allows us, then obviously something's going to give. And what I found was when I take on too much, like everything gives. You know what I mean? Like everything I'm doing in that day, all these things don't get the attention they deserve.
Yeah.
And now everything
suffers.
Everything suffers. Yeah. And I get to the point to where I'm almost like a rubber band, you know, like I'll take on too much, and then I learn my lesson, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just focus on just giving one thing its thing, and then a couple months go by, and that's working out great, and I forget my lesson.
Yeah.
And I start, I'm itching to do another hardcore. Here comes our fourth try at this, and then my viewers are like, oh, so another series you're just gonna quit on? Why should I get invested in watching you play this series when I know from your history you're just going to quit before it's over?
Yeah.
And then they don't get invested in the first place. And my stupid brain goes, it's going to be different this time. I'm going to see this one through.
See, you don't change anything.
A couple weeks later.
Yeah.
What happened to that series? Hey, I'm an idiot. You know, like it sucks. It really sucks to like not learn the lesson and remember it. So
I've been there, man. It's hard.
Yeah, it's
you have these delusions of grandeur. You want to do it all. You want to, and just for the record, personally, as your buddy, this is actually a trait about you I would like to see you not change. The fact that you want to do it all. Yeah, you might need to stop trying to do it all, but the fact that you want to do it all, keep that, because it's going to keep your door wide open for things that you're willing to try. So do that. But this is very common. People want to do it all, and what they've convinced themselves the investment is way less than what it actually is. So you got to give yourself a bit of a buffer. I feel confident I can speak to this as an authority because I've been the guy who's overloaded the plate, who's overcommitted and gotten myself into some trouble, if you will. But here's what's interesting. I don't necessarily want to do it all, but I want to have it all. And those are two very different things.
Why is a song playing in my head?
I
want it all.
And I want it now. That's what it is, dude. That was about Skizz. But I do want to have it all. But when I was younger, a lot of my friends and stuff, everybody thought I thrived on being busy because I was always even as a kid, right? They thought I thrived on the idea of being involved in a lot of stuff. It wasn't that I liked it. I didn't like being super busy. It didn't make me feel cooler and important or anything like that. I just was involved in so many things because I want to have it all. So I don't know what's going to bring me the it. I got to try everything, right? And so it was risk-free back then because you're a kid, and if it doesn't work out, who cares? But now it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Like you overcommit to something, you're in trouble. Here's a fun example. It's actually kind of a funny one. It was, let's see, what is that? So 3 days ago would have been Wednesday. Okay, so on Wednesday, this guy hits me up on text who I hadn't spoken to in years. And he was an old colleague. He's pretty significantly older than I am, but he is such an overwhelmingly wonderful guy. By the way, and I'm also going to get to that in a second. Wait till I give you this slice. I want you to talk about the fact that I said he's older than me. He's an older guy who is no longer with the company, and he's one of my most favorite people I've ever known in my entire life. And he texts me. He's like, "Hey man, how have you been?" And I'm like, "Dude, I haven't seen you." He actually has me in his phone as Cool Cat because I referred to him as a Cool Cat one time. He thought that was the funniest thing, so he made that my nickname. So I'm in his phone as Cool Cat, and we started just talking about how retirement's been treating him and stuff like that. And I said I told him a little bit about what I'm doing with my life and this content creation stuff. I just barely talked about. He's like, "Oh, I'd like to hear more about that." He said we should get together for something. Let's get some lunch. And he's like, "You let me know." He's like, "I'm the one who's retired, so you let me know." And my brain's like, schedule it now and schedule it aggressively, or it will never happen.
Yeah.
And I looked at my calendar instantly, and I was like, I have 2 hours to spare tomorrow during lunch. I literally have 2 hours of no meetings, and it falls in between before the time I'm going to stream. And I was all, "How about tomorrow lunch?" And he's like, "I'm in." So I came up with the destination. We're going to meet at this place exactly at noon. First thing I'm doing when I'm done with this text message, pull out the phone, reminder.
Yeah.
And don't remind me at noon. I want you reminding me at 11:30. I want this phone going nuts, and I want to know at 11:30. Just remind me, because right now there's no way I'm going to forget this, because I'm so looking forward to this lunch because I love this guy. But this is me. I'm so overworked. I'm so overbusy. I'm going to forget. Reminder. Put the phone away. Then I live my life. I go on to the next day, and just not to get into the nitty gritty, but work's been very, very tough for me lately, and there's a whole story there. But I'm very upset a lot, and I'm very consumed, and I'm very busy, and I'm pushing. Didn't hear the phone make noises. Didn't do any of that. Around probably, I would guess around 11:15 starts to roll around. 11:30 rolls around, and all this stuff. And 11:45 rolls around, 11:50 rolls around, and I'm not even thinking about lunch. I've been in my office all morning, haven't eaten a thing, not even thinking. I'm just very, very busy. I'm in a meeting with this really nice guy, and my brain's like, something's wrong. This is my brain's like, something's wrong. You committed to something. Like the little guys in my database are like, we have plans today. I don't know what it is. I just feel like it. And I'm like, my brain's like, you have to stop focusing on this conversation you're having with this work problem, because you're blowing it right now. I don't know what it is. And I'm like, I don't know. And I pick up my phone, and I see a text from him saying, I'm walking up now. I'm all walking up to.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I'm like, and I look, and it's 12:07. I'm still in my office and in my house. It's 12:07. I have no shoes on. I'm supposed to be there 7 minutes ago.
Oh.
I'm in my office, and this is the nicest guy in the world. And I just stood him up, and I'm like, and I write back to him. I said, all I type is, I blew it, and work got away from me. I'm on the move, and then to the guy I'm on the phone call with, I'm like, I gotta go. He's like, okay, and I said, I gotta go. So I just hung up. And I go, and I jet out the door as quick as I can. That took me another 10 plus minutes because I couldn't find the keys. And I take off, dude, and I get down there, and I'm late, and I'm 30 minutes late to this lunch date, and he's nothing but completely wonderful about it, because that's who he is, you know.
Yeah.
This is a guy who, even in retirement, like he's retired. He's like, I made $12,000 last month. I'm like, what? He just picked up another craft of just doing like laser crafting, like glass and acrylics and wood and stuff.
That's
and
cool.
He's like really good at it. So I'm very impressed. But I learned about him, and he's the master of getting it all done and staying healthy, right? He can do it all and stay healthy. His kids are like, Dad, you're amazing at this. Let me create you a website. He's like, no, if I do that, I'm not retired anymore. All that money was word of mouth. Just people saying this guy's so good. He's just word of mouth. He's so balanced and so relaxed. And now let's get back to his age, right? The whole thing ties in. If I don't figure it out, I'm going to be dead in 2 hours, dude. This whole thing ties in. I would have, if you asked me how old he was, and I worked with this guy for years, bro. If you asked me how old he was today, I would have said, God, geez, gun to my head. If I had to guess, I mean, he might be pushing like 53. Might be pushing 53. He's 67.
Wow.
I couldn't, dude. He reminds me of our professor at DeVry, our Mr. Brown. You know what I mean? The guy who we were like, what? Yeah, dude. This guy, he's 67, dude, and he's got the energy of an 18-year-old. Like, it's the craziest thing, because he's got it figured out. I have to take a page out of his book.
Yeah.
I got to do it, man.
Balance, man, right? Like, shoot, we had that conversation with B-Dubs.
Oh, yeah.
You know, where he forced balance by buying a boat. Remember that story?
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, okay. So when we get to the stage that we're at where we're just like, okay, can't do it all, then maybe we got to be like, okay, well, if we're stressed about all the things that we're taking on, which obviously you have been, you know, maybe it's more than just like getting these things in on time, you know, like being able to fit it in. Maybe there's even more that has to go. Maybe more that has to be shaved off. Yeah. So that you can make that time to get on a boat. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because like that's missing too. Like those are the things, usually the first things to go is that me time that keeps your like brain, you know, happy, you know, gives you that brain space to even comprehend how to manage the things. Because I do that too. It's like with content creation, it's tough because if you don't give your brain like space to think, then how are you going to come up with any good ideas?
Yep.
you can't just like sit down and hit record and hope stuff happens. You need to think things through. And like the same thing is with tackling your day-to-day stuff. You gotta think things through when you wake up. I'm sure you do it. When you wake up, you make yourself a little checklist. Here's all the things I need to do today.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
And you kind of have to do that with a lot, like almost life. Otherwise, like you forget what you got going on.
Yep.
You know, sometimes it helps to write it down or you know, I can't believe you used your phone to literally give you a notification and then you didn't know you've. Okay, I do know that that's what happens because I text you all the time and you don't actually see it for
my phone
hours.
was on mute. So that, or it may have not been on mute and it made the ding and I just ignored it because it was more white noise.
Yeah.
That I didn't have time to pay attention to.
Like you've been trained to ignore those because you don't like being told what to do next.
I need somebody to come poke me in the eye and say, "You pay attention to this." and in fact, I had another one. I don't remember what it was. I don't know if it was Twitch Rivals or it was some sort of thing that was kind of a big deal. It may have been Twitch Rivals. It may have been something. I don't know. I know what event it was, and it wasn't called that, but I don't remember the real name. So, but some sort of online event.
You had committed to something.
I'd committed to an online event that were to compete in this online Minecraft thing. That it wasn't Twitch Rivals apparently, but it was Twitch Rivals-esque. I don't know what it was, but it was something to that effect. And it was neat, and the invite was great. I was very pleased and honored to have an invite. Well, it's not like it's an individual basis. You have a team. You're with a team of people. And I woke up that day and I'm like, okay, I have this event at this time. There's several things I got to take care of before that time. I think it was at 11 a.m. our time was when it was supposed to start, if I'm not mistaken. It was a weekend. I was like, I got several things. Okay, no problem. Let's get started. I got a couple hours I can take care of this. There's some yard work I want to get done. Like in this specific case, it actually was yard work. And I'm like, okay, I have an hour before. No, I have 45 minutes before I need to be prepping my stream to get ready. So which means that means it was probably 10 o'clock. So I'd like to start prepping at 10:45. We go live at 11. Okay, good. So I'm out and I'm like, I got to cut up these boxes. I got to organize this. I'm doing this and I'm just kind of going to my zone just and I don't know, it's like 11:30. You know what I mean? I'm just going completely. It wasn't, I didn't lose track of time. I lost track of life. I was I had to do, I like was so consumed in this new task.
Yeah.
And now this could have deeper implications here, but I think somebody contacted you and then you contacted either me or my wife. And I think my wife called and said, what is going on? Cause she wasn't in the house. You have an event at 11. I'm like, what? Oh my God. And I look at the time. I'm like, I'm really late. And I was like, I'm not kind of late. This is done. I missed it. And I'm very grateful they were able to find somebody to backfill me. But and I remember in that moment being like, well, if I'm one of the people who run this, I'd be like, blacklist him. You know what I mean? In that moment, I'd been like, don't ever invite that idiot again. That's what would have gone through my head. You know what I mean? Like how, like you really think this is a joke what we're putting on? That was my thing. I was like, this was bad for me. I get it. But what a slap in the face for the brilliant minds that put this stuff together. Yeah. That's when I was like so upset with myself. And I was like, I have to get this figured out, man.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that happening. It's funny because like me and your wife, we don't text each other very much. Yeah. And so it was probably like, you know, I get on, I'm like, oh man, what is her number again? I find her and I pull up a text history and I'm like, okay, I haven't texted her in 2 years. All right, everything okay with Skizz? You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm texting her after 2 years of nothing. But yeah, dude, it happens. Especially, you know, I can get that you get hyper focused on something and time just doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, you know. But you're right. Like the people in the event, they may have been frustrated at the time, and hopefully they forgave you and understood that stuff happens. You know, like even though my shirt says I'm a flawless human being, where the word flawless is spelled wrong, that's the joke. You know what I mean? Like. I know at first you didn't notice and you thought I was actually bragging that I was.
I didn't notice
the first time I had this merch, I'm trying to like get it in the camera. The first time I had this merch and it says I'm a flawless human being, Skizz didn't notice that the L is in the wrong spot.
But
you thought I was literally like bragging to everyone that I'm flawless.
Well, I thought you were playing off the fact that you are like pretty close to flawless. And so, but when I saw the typo, I'm like, that's brilliant, dude. That really is. But you have to understand, have you seen those paragraphs where it's a full paragraph, but not only is not a single word spelled correctly, they flip letters, and then some places instead of the letter they'll put numbers and stuff like that. But you can still, if you can read it, it says your mind works in a different way. I can read those like it's nothing. I'm sure most people can, but I can read them like it's nothing. Every single word is spelled not kind of wrong, horrendously wrong. I can read it like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Because they subtly resemble what the word is supposed to be, right? That's all that happened there.
Yeah.
I saw it, like I'm a flaw, like it's a boom. But when I saw the letters out of place, I'm like, oh, that's really clever, man.
That was always a joke, you know. It'd be like streaming or something, streamer brain hits, and you do something really stupid, and then you just pretend that you didn't do it. I couldn't have possibly made a mistake because I'm flawless, you know. Became the joke. But no, I mean, we all have our moments, and you know, that was maybe a one that didn't feel so great. You know, it never does. I totally get that feeling of like, it's one thing to let yourself down if you promised yourself, I'm going to do this, 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 and this, and then you didn't get it all done, and you can kind of live with that. But when you know, like your coworker, ex-coworker, you're late to lunch, or you didn't show up to an event that you promised to, and now your team is like super stressed out having to find somebody to replace you.
Yep.
Like, that's other people now that you're affecting, and you know that, you know, that's when it really does kind of sting to know. I have felt a little bit of guilt with something I'm doing. I'm doing a series on with the Hermits right now, Vault Hunters, and we gave ourselves 100 days, and we gave ourselves a goal. In this 100 days, we're gonna get to this level, and we're gonna go all, you know, fight this boss together. And because I had taken on so much, like Hermitcraft hadn't ended yet, season 9 hadn't ended yet when this started. I was also doing the Life series at the same time. Probably had some ideas that I was still going to do my hardcore series, but not much was done there. Oh, and I maybe have formed a little bit of addiction to a game called Phasmophobia. And so because of all these things that I was also doing, my progression in Vault Hunters was very lacking compared to everyone else on the server. And so we would get into events to know, you know, where we want to run vaults together or whatever, and they'd basically have to like go to the lowest person's level, me, to run the vault, and I felt terrible. Like I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry to drag you guys down. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it felt like to me. I'm like, yeah, you guys are gonna go on this lowly vault with me, and it's gonna be cake for you and not even fun. But I felt like that's what I felt like. I was like, I'm letting my peers down because I committed to this. Like, I knew the deal when I signed up to do this. I really wanted to do this, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do everything.
Yeah, and when you overcommit like that, and you end up doing that, a couple things happen. So many things actually. You end up feeling like you let people down, and you end up letting people down. We have to. That's what it is. And this new fear comes in to where when big ticket items come up, I'm just so afraid I'm going to blow it. We just yesterday, we did this amazing thing over on Zed's server, the Zed Olympics, right? There's so many things that I was thinking about. And this one was different because typically it's just you, me, Tango on Zed's Zedcraft server, and they put together these amazing games. And this time they brought in some more hermits, and then we had kind of a team thing. Well, as you can imagine, Zed asked us this probably maybe a month and a half ago, or like he got ahead of it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, yes, I'm in. My brain's like, are you? Are you sure you're not on the East Coast? You know what I mean? Like you have to. You have a
big travel schedule this time of year with your daughter in softball and stuff. So
you got to think of stuff like that. And so I'm like, I'm in. I said I'm in because here's why. Because I just really want to be there. And as we got closer and closer, I could see the dialogue and Discord and happening and everything. And I'm just doing my best to get caught up. Dude, it wasn't until probably 30 minutes before go time. I'm like, okay, what time are we starting? And I was like, what do I need? Is there a mod I need? We're doing different skins. I got, he has a thing for the scoreboard. Like, and I'm trying to set all that up. And I was so worried I was going to, blow it. And I did not. And I'm glad for that. But the other thing that happened that I'm super stoked about was I got to, and I talked about this in my stream afterwards. I got to make it up to False. And what I mean by that is, I was on a team with False once upon a time. Now this, I believe this actually was Twitch Rivals. It was you, me, False, and who was the fourth one? Somebody else was there. And I'm just,
Cub.
maybe Cub. I'm probably, it was so long ago. It was my first Twitch rivals ever, I'm pretty sure. And there's a few things there, you know what I mean? One is I'm not super good at Minecraft. I think we're all aware of that. Two, I'm not as nearly as competitive as I used to be. And three, the combination of just wanting to be entertaining for the stream and the fact that I don't care about winning officially put a big giant anchor on my forehead. I am the anchor of the team. You know what I mean? But I didn't really think that one through, and I performed poorly, so I tanked our team. That's what happened. Let's call it what it is. And I was like, I mean, that's my first real collaboration with False, and this is years ago. What a disappointment I must have been. You know what I mean? Like, what a tremendous disappointment I must have been. So for the Zcraft thing, the Z Olympics, I won. A hermit was assigned to me, and it happened to be False. I'm like, oh, today's the day I make it up. I'm going to make it up to her. We are going to do well. And I was like, I'm going to give it my everything. And she was the MVP. She was lights out. But
she's a gamer.
She's excellent.
She's ultra competitive too.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I picked up on. We did Twitch rivals. I'm like, oh, she really wanted to win, and I'm an anchor. She must think this Skizz guy's a joke. I wouldn't blame her. And so now it's and there's nobody else on the team for her to rely on. It's me and False. You know what I mean? And you were partnered with Beef, right?
Yeah, Vintage Beef.
Yeah, you were with Vintage Beef. And then Zed was him and Joe and
you had one extra person. Yeah, so they had like a 3-person team.
Yeah, Kleebert. Yeah, and then Tango was Tango and
Doc.
And Doc, that's right. Oh, Doc and I got to hit him up actually. We had a lot of fun razzing each other. Anyways, so False and I think did well. She was so good, and all it made me want to do was be as flawless as possible. And so we did all right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we got like second place out of 4, which is, believe it or not, my goal is to not get last. And so I felt really good coming out of that. But I say that because all of this, this memory I have, that the fun time we had and doing this well with False and having because she's a great teammate, and like we were really talking each other up, all of that was at risk of falling completely flat because I blew it. Because I overcommitted and blew it and was out doing yard work at the same time or whatever, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. All of that was at risk the whole time. I feel like I got kind of lucky because I was so paranoid about blowing it on that big ticket item that I was like, it was constantly on my mind. That's what it takes, apparently, for Skizz, is for it to be on my mind all the time. I want to be Van Wilder, and I want to have my own assistant who follows me around and reminds me of all my appointments. I had it in high school. Her name was Goldie. She was the best thing in the world. All she did, and it was like it kind of spoiled me, but I want it now. I want somebody to follow me around and just tell me where I'm supposed to be.
I can imagine that would get annoying though, to just constantly be told what you're supposed to be doing.
Well, I want it, and here's why: because I am in the moment of having the conversation, like being in a problem-solving conversation or whatever, or deciding where priorities are or what needs to be done. I really do shine in those moments. I agree. I'm good in that moment. I know what it is to see, to clear the smoke and understand what needs to be focused on or whatever. I'm really bad at remembering that I got to go to that appointment to go have that conversation. Mm-hmm. But somebody can come to me like at the last second, I mean, with like emergency-based questions and be like, we need a decision on this critical thing, like within the next 2 minutes, and I can do it. You know what I mean? Like I can think things through and I can do it like fast. I can just do that. But it's like everything before that is the worst. So I need somebody to follow me around and just be like, this is what you're blowing it on.
I was going to say, like, you have a phone that can do a lot of that for you. You can put your schedule in and have it do reminders. But when you put your phone on mute face down on your desk, like that's not going to work. So you would have to change some of your behaviors and maybe be a little more like me where I'm just constantly holding my phone and like not missing anything, which is not a great trade. No, I wouldn't recommend that either. It's something I'm trying to wean myself off of. It's
dude, I've had meetings on my work calendar that I scheduled that was on the monitor displaying my calendar, and I was late for. You know what I mean? Because
you're a bit of a wreck.
Well, because there was a quadruple booked.
You're a train wreck this week. So you ordered a new computer because you've been having some stream issues and
Oh,
stuff. And
come
and your
on.
computer's been crashing.
Yeah.
And we
All
gotta
right,
tell the story.
I'll tell the story.
We gotta tell the story.
So I hold my I really, really enjoy content creation. I really enjoy streaming. And when my computer crashes during a stream, which is mind-blowing to me because it is a top shelf computer that's barely 2 years old. It's top of the line. I think I cooked it with that terrible game we played. I really do. I think I did. But I'll be streaming and it just blows up and crashes. So I bought a new computer. I'm like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time to troubleshoot the motherboard on what blew here and to figure it out. So there you have it. So I ordered a new computer. Well, the company I ordered from, Apex, like they got their stuff together. It looks like I'm very pleased. And they wanted to set up a consultation with me to make sure everything I picked for the computer was what I wanted. And if you remember, Impulse, I picked the whole thing and I sent the whole list to you. I'm like, what do you think? Peer edit. And you were like, I would add one more something, like one more SSD. And one more, add one more SSD so that you can run your OS off that and your,
recordings go to the other one.
Which was very smart. So I did. And that was the only change I made. But it didn't matter. They don't know who we are. They were like, we want to meet with you. And I'm like, okay, good. What do you want? So I had to schedule it for a week out. I had to go onto their website. I scheduled it. Put a reminder on my phone. I was all ready for it. Okay. I missed it. I missed the meeting.
Why didn't the reminder?
By 25 hours.
Why didn't the reminder go off and remind you to be there?
It must have. Like it must have gone, bing. I don't know. I need like death metal to play as my alert or something. But I was just so upset with myself, dude, because I'm like, and I missed that appointment. Like that's another appointment I missed. So I don't know. I need somebody to follow me around, buddy. Or I gotta get it sorted.
I would, but I'm kind of busy. I got my own stuff that's falling off my plate.
Yeah.
So
are you blowing it? Make me feel better. Give me some feelings.
Well, I mean, I told you the Vault Hunters thing. This is like, okay. It's not gonna like ruin my life if I don't keep up with the Hermits and Vault Hunters, Yeah. Although I mean I really do enjoy it.
Yeah.
And like I do kind of daydream about what it would be like if I was to just like give it my all.
Yeah.
And what I could do with it and how much fun I would have with it. And so maybe in the future, I'm doing it again. Maybe in the future I'll pick it back up and do it on top of everything else I'm already doing. But no, I really do have the desire to do that. I told the story about my tooth that I dropped the ball on for so long.
Last week. Yep.
Yeah. So there's that. I mean, yeah, stuff piles up, but
have you ever actually forgotten something?
Oh yeah, of course.
Come on, like
an
appointment.
But the thing that's good about me is like I'm actually pretty good at forgetting stuff because I've already forgotten what I've forgotten. So I can't answer that question because like I've already just like
there you go.
Yeah, I'm sure I've ghosted people on accident, not showing up to stuff that I was supposed to. But when you get busy, it's just life, right? Like,
it is.
Like you just got to find a way to move past it,
and
find a way to turn a dial. Right.
Yeah, and that's what I want to hopefully get to. I want to get myself into an area to where I can turn a dial and things start to make a whole lot more sense. In fact, it was not this last life series, but it was this last one or two, and I've talked about this before too, is where I got my dates mixed up. I had to travel to the East Coast. I got my dates mixed up, and I was going to miss the first recording. I'm like, well, that's just not going to happen. So I had to make some last minute adjustments, and it cost me $700 to come back and record that first episode for no other reason other than the fact that I blew it on my schedule, and I had to come back from New York to record in time because there was no way I was going to ask the crew to move around all their schedules.
Yeah,
and it was that flight change was a $700 loss I took because I planned poorly. Yeah, it's dawning on me now. This is all doable. Everything I'm trying to do is pretty doable, but my execution needs to get better. That's what it is, dude. Like when I'm committing to things. So for example, I told my wife, I need a physical calendar in my office. And she's like, I'll pick you up one today. I said, get me two. She's like, why do you need two?
Yeah.
And not hold on. Let me rephrase that. Not a physical calendar. I wanted a dry erase board that was designed to be a calendar. So it had all the lines in it and everything. And you could do all the grids and do all your thing. And then every month you erase it and put the new months. I said, get me two, because I'm going to be planning a minimum of 2 months in advance. Anytime somebody asks me anything, I want to look physically at my wall and be like, I'm free that day. You know what I mean? And if I'm not free and we're going to do it, I'm going to stand up right now and write it on there. If I had something like that, this wouldn't happen. So it's dawning on me. I'm getting smart right now. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep trying to have it all. I'm going to keep going. I want it all.
Okay.
But I'm going to get more diligent in my planning of the all. I thought I would be diligent enough if I was taking notes and I was putting things in calendars, and I think that's all well and good. But I think I need to be, I don't think I'm 100%. I think I've committed to things where I didn't write it down. And I happen to remember. This is a big one. In fact, you it was sort of a backhanded compliment you gave me this morning. I showed up so we could record, and I had a box of coffee, and you're all, you actually remembered the coffee.
Yeah.
And I said,
Well
I
done.
did. It's because we recorded 2 weeks ago, and all I said was, I need to buy more coffee
Yeah.
to bring.
Yep.
That shouldn't be a big deal that I remembered to bring coffee, but it was. It was.
I was already like, I was so sure you were going to forget to bring the coffee that I'd already like walked through in my head that I was going to like go get you some coffee from the inside, from the house, the main house, and just bring it out because but then you showed up and I was so proud of you. I was like, wow, you actually remembered. It has been 2 weeks and that's pretty good. I'm proud of you.
I'm doing my
your
best.
Gold sticker.
I'm doing my best, buddy.
Yeah. But that's a good idea. Like really just be diligent about making sure you document everything, and I think I still even though I do that, right? Like you've seen my detailed schedule, like that's down to like every 15-minute increments.
Yeah.
And I stick to that schedule pretty good. I still have my moments where like something comes about and I don't put it on there, and it's like like I'll get a text from my wife and she's like, "Are you coming?" And I'm like, "Coming to what?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And she's like, "We just talked about this at lunch. You said we were gonna go to the grocery store after your stream." And she's like, "I'm leaving without you if you're not out here in like 5 minutes." I'm like, okay. And then I get out and I'm like, we literally just talked about like at lunch, hey, after my stream, let's go to the grocery store and pick up some stuff for dinner or whatever. And then here I end my stream and I'm just like do, and she's got to text me to remind me. So yeah, it happens. It happens to all of us. But I think the idea of like the one thing that gets me, the one thing that trips me up, because I do have my schedule and sometimes I forget to put stuff on it, and that's a big deal. So just be more diligent about that.
Yep.
But the one thing that gets me is underestimating how much time something actually takes. Yes. So like kind of like that day you were, okay, I got 45 minutes to do yard work, and next thing you know, you're still doing yard work an hour and a half later.
But that was a brain lapse.
Yeah,
I didn't think I could get it done in 45 minutes.
Okay.
I was going to work for 45 minutes.
Okay.
That was
I
a
thought
brain
maybe you were
lapse.
like, okay, I'll be able to get this done in 45 minutes, and it just took longer.
Yeah.
That's my problem, is when I commit to these things, like, whatever, Vault Hunters or whatever, I think, oh, okay, if I can do this with the 8 hours a week I can actually afford to spend on it. But then I get into the weeds of it and I realize, no, this is actually something that's more like 30 hours a week.
Yeah.
So your 8 hours isn't going to cut it. And at the end of the day, because you didn't give it the 30 that it needed, your 8 hours is actually just going to produce something that's kind of trash.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like now the product is diminished because I didn't give it the love and the time that it actually needed. And that's the pitfalls that I constantly fall into. So I think from now on, like I'm gonna do what a lot of people did at the place that I used to work and you currently work.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna overestimate everything.
Yeah.
Like what do we do? What do we call it? You're still in the weeds. The points. You assign points to stories you want to talk about.
Yeah.
You don't want to talk about it because it drives you nuts. But
it's gonna.
what is it called? Agile. I've already
DevOps, Agile, all that. No,
this concept of like, okay, figure out what you need to work on, and then you assign points, which are essentially a way of saying it's going to take me
how heavy is the
X
lift?
amount of hours type thing. You kind of like get an idea of like how much time it's going to take you, and what everybody was doing was like, okay, I know it. I know in their head they're like, I can do this in 2 hours, so I'm going to put down that this is going to take me 8 hours.
Yeah.
And then they can breeze by, you know what I mean? Because as far as the people outside looking in at the metrics of everything that you're doing,
It's a bunch of
they're just, you hit it. Like 8-hour thing you got done in 2 hours. They don't care about that. They just care that you said you were going to do a thing. It was going to supposedly take you this long, and you got it done. You know?
Yeah.
They totally inflated it. I'm going to start doing that with everything, dude.
Well,
Everything.
Yeah, that's not a bad.
I'm just going to inflate it.
It's not a terrible idea because you need to because you've gone the wrong direction.
Right.
Your inflating is going to bring it back to normal.
There is a I could overcorrect easily.
Yeah, you could.
But that's okay. The pendulum can swing and eventually find its way to the middle.
Yeah.
You know? And I think maybe that's where I need to do now because I just it's a lesson that I continue to learn and forget.
Yeah.
You know? And so I got to make some change. And I think that's going to be it. Like anytime an opportunity comes up for me to do something, and I think in my mind, my overly optimistic mind, that it's going to take a certain amount of time, I'm going to just be like, okay, it's time to do the thing. Inflate that. Double it, triple it, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And now how does that fall in line with everything else on your plate? Now is it doable? If I had known, if I was smart enough to know that in order for me to do Vault Hunters right, that I needed to really spend about 30 hours a week on it instead of the 8 that I was planning on, then I would have known that I couldn't do it justice. And maybe I would have turned it down. And yeah, it would have been a missed opportunity because it's a super fun thing. But at least then I wasn't like letting people down. I wasn't producing something I'm not like super proud of because I'm so slow and behind, you know? And could have made maybe a better decision. I don't know.
No, I think that's a fair point, and I also think that like kind of the tone that's going on here is that if anybody's feeling stretched beyond your means, it's time to entertain that. Has your ability to plan, is it properly reflecting what you're actually doing, right? What you've signed yourself up for. There is a chance. There is a real thing of overcommitting. That's a real thing that could occur. But I think that overcommitting sometimes is a symptom of poor planning. And so now if you can do loosey-goosey planning, but just don't commit to a lot. If you're going to commit to a lot, your planning better be top notch. That's where I think my problem is. I think I've committed to a ton of stuff and my planning is not on par with it. It's just not. If I'm committing to a level 7, then my planning needs to be at a level 7. But I think my planning's at a level like 5 right now. So that 2 point little deficit is causing this consternation of things overlapping each other or not having the right clarity or being late to meetings and stuff like that. There is such a thing as overcommitting, but that's only going to reveal itself if your planning is equally as impressive as your ability to overcommit or to commit at all. And only then will you be able to say, I'm legitimately I'm outstretched here. Mm-hmm. I am experiencing a world, because here's the other thing is that I actually am pretty good at planning. I don't necessarily like it, but I do have a skill set there, and you can see it back when I would do event management and stuff. I mean, that is planning at its finest, right? So I know what it is. So I do have that skill set. I don't really like it, and what's more is I don't like to live my life like that. You know what I mean? This is another difference that you and I have. There's so much value to the fact that you plan your days of, and I'm going to have to start doing that. There's a lot of value to it, tons of value. Actually, it's all value. It's completely valuable. But me, I like to just, I don't like plans. I like to just do whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
And I
just go with the flow.
Yeah, Skizz, you got to pick one. You want to be somebody who just goes with the flow. You got to commit to about 95% less than what you're committing to right now. It's the only way it's going to work. And so so what ends up happening is I just want to, it's like when I go on vacation, right? My wife, she has the skill set to plan every minute of every hour of every day of whatever vacation you're on. She has pulled it way back. She knows it makes me nuts, but she can do that. You know what I mean? Whereas me, I'm like, let's just go and see what happens. That's also a dumb way to be. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, you got to, be a little bit more structured.
I went through the same thing. My wife is definitely a planner when it comes to the vacations and stuff. And I kind of like talked her out of it one time. And a day in the vacation came.
You wish she had done
and
the thing.
We woke up and we looked at each other and said, what do you want to do today?
Yeah.
And neither of us had a way to come up with anything.
Sure,
like we couldn't come up with anything. And now we're sitting on our vacation in this like rental house or whatever, not doing anything.
Yeah.
And then it was frustrating. It was like, we're wasting our time now because we didn't plan something today, and this is our vacation. You're only gonna have so much of it to have, and we're wasting it. It's such a precious time. And so that it was like, and then after that, I was like, okay, you can go back to playing.
Yeah, do your
everything.
thing.
Go ahead, load my day up. As much as like I'll wake up one day and she's gonna be like, okay, we gotta get going. We gotta do this, and I'm like, come on, I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
You know, like I understand now the opposite of that. You know, the other side of that coin, and I'm like, okay, her way is better. I'll just suck it up. And if we're busy the entire vacation, that's fine. I do prefer to be busy. Like, anytime I do find myself with free time and quote unquote absolutely nothing to do, and I sit there and I think, okay, this is good for you. You need to learn how to do nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'll sit there for like a minute or two, and the anxiety is like, no, I can't. I gotta do something. I can't just sit here doing nothing. It's not like me.
Yeah.
Even I was like the same way. Like you mentioned in high school or as a kid, you were constantly busy. Like my schedule in high school was marching band season anyway. We get up at like 5 a.m., be on the field by 6 a.m.,
Terrible.
you know, and then school starts. And then after school, you typically have more band practice, you know, drumline practice. And then that would end, and I'd immediately go to a job that I worked like 5 to 9, you know, no big deal. It's just a 4-hour shift, but still 5 to 9, get home at 9:30.
Homework.
Now it's time to do homework.
Yep.
And I'm like getting done with homework around 11 maybe, and I got to be up at 5.
You
know
gotta
what I
be
mean? And
up-
that was just like every day.
Yeah.
And I was cool with it.
You're done with your homework, and I got to be up in 6 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was cool with it. Like it was like I liked being on the go. I figured out how to fit everything in. You did have to sacrifice some sleep, but as a kid, I felt like I managed it okay. You know, like I don't know.
I don't think I did. I don't think I liked being so busy all the time. I mean, I'd spent my whole life, so what do I know? But in fact, when I took my first sabbatical, I wasn't doing any content creation at the time, right? My first sabbatical was, that was a long time ago. That was like 11 years ago or whatever it was. But my first sabbatical was a long time ago. And so it was like 8 weeks off or something to that, 8 to 10 weeks off.
Yeah.
I don't really remember. Anyways, that I remember, dude, my whole life, ever since I was a kid, I felt like led up to this moment I'm about to share with you, where it was just never stopping. And the very last day before my sabbatical, we went to my work group went to, I think you were on the team at the time. We went to Main Event or something. There was like an outing, like a team builder outing. It was cool. And we went there. We enjoyed our day. I was still in work mind because I was still with my work people, even though it was a team builder. It was this thing. Then we left, and I'm walking back to my car, and everybody's like, "Skizz, enjoy your sabbatical. Like, really enjoy this." And I turned around, and it's like I felt a physical weight being lifted off I could not believe the physiological effect I felt when I realized nobody's expecting anything from me tomorrow. Nobody. I have nothing. And I remember like that people talk about like they don't know what they're going to do when they're retired. I don't think I'm going to have that problem. I am just fine with this. This is wonderful.
Always wanted to do that.
I was exactly, dude. This isn't just about me and my dream of doing nothing. And I got up the next day and I was a little lost. I didn't really know what to do. It wasn't retirement. It was 8 weeks of retirement. I didn't really know what to do. There's some projects around the house I wanted to get after, but I got on this regiment of getting on my the bicycle and riding to the airport just to watch the planes. And it's like a small airport. And I was just like, I was like, this, I could live like this for the rest of my life. Like nobody's expecting anything from me. Nobody. I'm literally living for me right now. This is weird. Like it was just like so weird and awesome that I just would do whatever I want to do. Get up when I still continue to get up like really early, but just get up, go for a walk, take the bike ride, do whatever, maybe do some dishes, relax, maybe watch a TV show. That was one thing is I will say this, maybe I'm backpedaling here, but I didn't just sit on the couch and watch TV all day. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just didn't. I had to stay busy too, but it was just movement. It was just physical movement, just moving around, just doing stuff. Yeah.
Smelling the roses.
Yeah.
So that's maybe if, you don't need a sabbatical to fit that bike ride in.
Yeah.
You just need to schedule it.
I'll be scheduling.
Schedule it. Schedule the bike ride. Pickleball. That's right.
Yeah.
We talked about doing pickleball. We're going to make it happen. People were already wondering, do they do pickleball? Yeah, they talked about it.
Oh, we're gonna.
That was like, because we recorded 2 podcasts in the
Yeah.
same day, so we haven't had a chance to play pickleball between the recordings.
Yeah.
But we'll make that happen.
We're going to. It's going to be pickleball, and that's going to and other things. But you're right. I really think that, and that's what I love about these podcasts is I feel like I end up learning something. We do a lot of self-reflection in these.
It's like our own therapy sessions
It
that we
is.
just like hope other people are somehow gleaming some therapy from.
Maybe,
I
could
guess,
be.
but we are not obviously
No,
professionals.
no, no.
So
Well, I am, but no, we're not. But
you
no,
could have been. You could have been.
Maybe.
I knew this when I met you. Like, you could have gone in the profession of like being a therapist. You know what I mean? Like,
nice thing to
like
say.
you are really good at like understanding where people are coming from, not being judgmental, and giving great advice on how they can, you know, turn their situation around, whatever it may be. So
It's going to apply it to myself. And that's what I like about these. Thank you for that. That's what I like about these podcasts is that there's a lot of self-reflection. And I think it took this podcast literally recording for me to be like, that's what it is. Like, commit as much as you want, but whatever level you're committing at, your planning execution needs to mirror it.
yeah,
When you're committing to next to nothing, you don't need to plan that much.
Yeah.
I got a buddy. I got a handful of buddies that, I mean, I love them. I do. I always will. Boy, did they aim low. You know what I mean? And that's fine. It sounds like I'm judging. I'm not. And here's why I'm not. Because they're comfortable with where they're at.
Yeah.
And that's that's really all I care about.
that's all that matters.
If they were just like, I never made it anywhere, I'd be
Right,
like,
that's all that
getting
matters is happiness. you
That's
know?
right. Yeah.
If they're happy, then that's
and that's
be
fine. It's 100% fine, right? But because of that, they also live a life to where their planning is almost non-existent because it doesn't really need to exist. They're always going to be free. You know what I mean? Like, oh, and then they're also going to outlive me probably by 30 years. But that's my point is that whatever level you're committing at, it's only going to work if you equally elevate your planning execution.
Yeah.
That's it.
And part of good planning is knowing the scope of what you're taking
It
on.
is. It
right?
is.
Like I talked about not knowing the scope of vault hunters getting into that. Like that's part of planning. If you fully understood the scope, then you can put it in where it belongs and know what you're in store for, so you can plan properly, and that would solve it.
Yep.
And plan for you time too. Plan for some, you know.
Pickleball's going to be me time, dude.
Put a little block on there that just says breathe.
Yeah. No, you're not right.
You know?
Dude, you want to know what's crazy? You ready for this? I have a thing on my calendar at work every day, and it's just 30 minutes, and it's titled PM, which people would be like, ooh, project management, program management. It's not. It's personal management. It is quite literally, that's my time to go call my dad. That's my time to go call my mom. That's my time to just get away from the desk. It's only a short little 30-minute stint. It's just my time to go do this. And it's like triple booked every day. I'd never do it ever. Not once. Like every single day, there's 2 or 3 meetings that are booked over top of it that I just can't get away from. So it's like, what was the point of that? I didn't get stubborn enough. I needed to get stubborn enough. That's another thing there.
Yeah.
But,
boundaries.
Boundaries.
Be another
boundaries.
topic. Ooh, I have to think on that one.
Let's go into
yeah,
it
those
right now.
meetings that are booked over your personal time that could be important if you made it important. Right?
Yeah, I know. It's on
You
me.
just gotta
I need
tell
to do
people.
It. Yeah, I'm busy.
Don't you see my calendar?
Well,
I booked that.
Yeah, I know.
I had I had it too. I had a block on my calendar called health and wellness.
Oh yeah.
And I think I did one of those things where I made it private to where they couldn't see the title of it, you know, because you could do that. But that stayed on my calendar for about 10 years.
Yeah.
Like
It was at 4 p.m.
Yeah.
Because that's when we would leave to go to the gym.
That's when we go to the gym. But even after we stopped going to CrossFit, I left that on my calendar until the day I left.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I'm not going to get it. That's going to, I'm not doing it. I'm not getting into that, but I agree with you. Yeah. Schedule it and stick to it. But my biggest takeaway is whatever level you're committing at, your planning execution has to mirror it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's my biggest takeaway from this. I'm glad we did this.
All right. We're going to see that in action. Next time we record, you're going to be less stressed.
No promises.
Okay.
I'll give it my best. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll stay tuned to find out how much more gray hair Skizz has next time.
Hey, mean.
It's the stress.
I'm going to shave the sides.
I
Like
got
you
it
do.
too. I'll just hide it better than
What
you.
if I shave the sides like that?
Yeah, take it from
What if
me.
I grow the top? What if I go back to high school and have long hair with the skin shaved down to the skin?
I would love to show the audience a
Don't do
picture
it.
of you from high school. You won't let me.
Don't do it.
I've threatened it before. Anyway, well, hey, this was a nice little back and forth. I think we both have felt the pressure doing it all or trying to do it all and the failures that happen.
I
and,
want it all.
but I like your advice. I like your advice, and we can learn some things from each other.
I agree.
And hopefully you guys can too.
Yep.
Pick something up from us. It wasn't just an hour-long complaining fest.
No, I don't think I hope I didn't come off like I was complaining. I didn't feel like I
no,
was.
it's fine. I think yeah, we all go through it, right? And that's
Yeah.
what this is about is like we go through a lot in life, and to be able to just sit down and talk to somebody you trust and to listen to people that hopefully you guys trust at this point, share the same things, I think feels good as humans to be able to relate to people and what they're going through.
Yeah.
And then to have some sort of gleaming of, okay, what can you do about it? You know what I mean? And we'll see if it works.
Okay.
So
I like it.
stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.
See you guys.